Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, I want you to listen very carefully. Sometimes Allah speaks to us not through a voice we can hear, but through the silence we feel in our hearts. It's not always a loud thunderclap or a dream in the night. Number often, it's the slow unraveling of what we thought was secure. It's the deep discomfort that doesn't go away. It's the sleepless nights, the heavy prayers, the moments where nothing makes sense anymore. You try to hold on, you beg Allah for answers, but everything keeps falling apart. This is not coincidence. Sometimes the most merciful thing Allah does for us is to make staying unbearable, because He knows what lies ahead and He's telling you it's time to walk away. Today I want to share with you 5 clear, powerful signs that Allah is guiding you to let go. Not tomorrow, not after more heartbreak, but right now. Because where He is leading you is always better than what you're afraid to leave. 1, your heart is no longer at peace. There was a time when you woke up with lightness in your chest, a steady confidence that carried you through your day. You smiled easily, prayed with focus, and even the smallest tasks felt meaningful. Now, it's as if a dull weight presses down on you from the moment you open your eyes. What used to feel effortless now feels like a struggle. This creeping heaviness in your heart is not mere bad days piling up. It is a sign that something essential in your life is out of balance. The Prophet, peace be upon him, reminded us that true righteousness brings serenity, while sin or misplaced attachments stir the soul into turmoil. In Sahih Muslim, he said, "Righteousness is in good character, and sin is what wavers in your heart." In other words, when your inner self wavers, when you feel uneasy or restless, it is your soul's alarm bell ringing. Imagine a vase that once held clear, calm water. Over time, dirt and debris accumulate. The water becomes murky, and the vase cannot reflect light anymore. In the same way, your heart becomes clouded when you cling to things, people, places, or paths that no longer serve your well-being. You might mentally justify staying. It's just a rough patch, or if I try harder, it will improve. But each excuse only gives more time for that murk to spread. Pay attention to how you feel when you pause and close your eyes. Does a tightness settle in your chest? Do your thoughts race in circles? Does your prayer feel like an obligation rather than a comfort? These sensations are your heart speaking to you before your mind has even processed what is wrong. This inner knowledge is not weakness. It is wisdom granted to you by Allah's mercy. Allah places peace, sakana, in our hearts when we are on the right path and draws it back when we need to be redirected. When that peace is withdrawn, it may be His gentle way of guiding you away from harm you haven't yet seen. He loves you too much to let you remain where your soul can only wither. So when you notice this heaviness, this loss of serenity, do not push it aside. Reflect, make dua, and have the courage to walk away. Trust that by leaving what disturbs your heart, you are stepping toward the tranquility Allah intends for you. 2, you keep making dua for something was so, but Allah keeps blocking it. Think back to the nights when you poured out your heart in prayer, hands raised, tears falling, words trembling on your lips. You asked with all the sincerity in your soul, "Oh Allah, grant me this job, this relationship, this comfort." You woke every morning hopeful, only to face another closed door or unanswered call. It didn't make sense. You became frustrated, wondering, is Allah deaf to my cries? But consider this, sometimes what feels like rejection is actually a shield. Imagine a gardener who waters every plant in the field, yet notices one sapling wilting under full sun. Instead of letting it wither, he carefully moves it to a shaded spot where it can thrive. In the same way, Allah, Al-Kafiz, the protector, sees what you cannot. He turns you away from what would scorch you. When every route you take becomes blocked, job interviews fall through, proposals dissolve, plans collapse, pause and reflect. Don't assume Allah has forgotten you. Rather, trust that He has better plans. The Quran reminds us, it may be that you dislike a thing and it is good for you. Al-Baqarah 2:216. In other words, what you're desperate for now might be the very thing that harms you later. Ask yourself, how many times have you found relief or blessing down a different path, one you never expected? Perhaps a failed opportunity led you to discover a hidden talent, or a broken relationship prepared you for a more righteous companion. These twists and turns are not random, they are divine redirections. So, when you feel the sting of unanswered dua, when doors slam in your face, recognize it as a loving nudge from Allah. Instead of forcing your way, take a step back, renew your trust. Say, "Oh Allah, if this is not good for me, keep it away and bring what is better." Then walk away from those dead ends. By letting go of what Allah is blocking, you open yourself to the blessings He is quietly preparing. And sooner than you think, you'll look back and see how those closed doors were keys to doors infinitely more beautiful. 3, you're compromising your deen just to stay. My brothers and sisters, pause for a moment and reflect on this. When you cling so tightly to a person, a job, a friendship, or a place that you find yourself slipping away from the very foundations of your faith, what are you really holding on to? There comes a point when sacrifice crosses the line into self-destruction. Think about it. You used to pride yourself on your 5 daily prayers. You greeted each salah with calm focus, knowing it was your lifeline to Allah. Now you find excuses. "I'll make it up later. I'm too busy," or "everyone else is okay without it." You once recited Quran with your full heart. Now the mushaf sits untouched. You wore your hijab with dignity and conviction. Now you lower your gaze, afraid of what others might say. When the cost of staying is your prayer, your modesty, or your confidence in calling yourself a believer, that environment is not worth the price. Imagine a tree growing on rocky ground. It may survive for a season, but its roots never find the nourishment they need. A life lived in compromise will never flourish. Ask yourself, is this person or place inspiring you to draw closer to Allah, or is it pulling you further away? Do you find yourself questioning halal and haram boundaries just so you can remain? When you greet others, do you feel the peace of a Muslim heart, or do you feel the weight of concealed guilt? These are the alarm bells of your iman sounding. Allah has entrusted your soul to you, and no worldly attachment should eclipse that trust. Holding on at the expense of your relationship with Him is like trading your diamond for glass. It may look similar, but the value and strength are incomparable. Therefore, recognize this sign. If your commitment to Allah is weakening because of what or who you refuse to leave behind, it is time to walk away. Step back, reclaim your prayer, reclaim your honor, and place your deen above all else. By doing so, you honor the covenant between you and Allah, and you open yourself to blessings far greater than any temporary comfort this world can offer. 4, the environment is draining your soul. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an almost physical pull on your spirit? A heaviness settles in your chest, your shoulders slump, and you wonder why your energy has vanished before you even exchange a single word. This is no accident. Allah places us in environments that either uplift or erode our iman. And when He wants to guide us away from a place, the very air around us begins to feel toxic. Imagine a lush garden teeming with vibrant flowers and birdsong. Every step you take brings you joy and renewal. Now picture that same garden, once beautiful, now overrun with weeds, thorns scratching at your ankles and rotting fruit on the ground. What was once nourishing becomes harmful. If you remain there, your health would suffer, your feet wounded, your heart saddened. So too with people and places in our lives. Perhaps you spend time with individuals whose conversation is dominated by gossip, mockery, or foul language. What begins as harmless banter soon seeps into your own speech. You find yourself repeating jokes that carry hidden poison. Or maybe you're in an office where unethical shortcuts are praised and integrity is mocked. Day after day, your values are chipped away until you scarcely recognize your own reflection. Even social media can become a subtle trap. Endless scrolling feeds envy, comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You feel inadequate, anxious, restless, your heart pounding for approval that never truly satisfies. Allah says in His book that He commands the believers, "O you who believe, protect yourselves." Letting His honor guard your heart means we must also protect our surroundings. When an environment's influence pushes you to lower your standards, to smile at things that violate your principles, or to shield your faith just to fit in, it is not tolerance. It is slow erosion of your soul. Pay attention to restless mornings before you even step out. Notice the tension rising when your phone buzzes with certain group messages. Feel how your du'as become rushed prayers just to check a box, rather than moments of genuine worship. All these signals are the echoes of your heart crying out, "This environment no longer serves me." Leaving may feel daunting. Change can be messy and unsettling, but consider the alternative. Staying guarantees a slow fading of your light, and your soul, precious, entrusted to you by Allah, deserves to live in clear air where your faith can breathe and grow. So when you realize that the circle you keep, the office you walk into, or the digital world you scroll through leaves you feeling empty, heed that warning. Have the courage to step away, even if it means starting over. Surround yourself with what uplifts, sincere companionship, positive reminders of Allah, and spaces, physical or virtual, that glorify good rather than glamorize sin. By walking away from what drains you, you open the door to environments that nourish your iman. You protect your heart from becoming a barren wasteland, and you choose the path of life and light that Allah intended for you. 5. Your efforts are met with constant harm. You have poured your heart into this, countless hours of work, endless patience, and sincere prayers. You have given it your best, believing that steadfastness will bring reward. Yet every time you turn a corner, you stumble across betrayal. Every step forward seems to end in insult, backbiting, or broken promises. No matter how hard you try, pain and humiliation are the only harvest you reap. Imagine a traveler carrying a precious cargo by hand. With each mile, he expects his burden to be lighter as he approaches his destination. Instead, stones are tied around his feet, slowing him down. When he looks up, the path ahead is no clearer than the one behind. That is your journey when efforts are met with constant harm. Patience is a noble virtue in Islam, but it is not intended to become self-destruction. Allah praises those who are steadfast in adversity, yet He does not endorse remaining in a situation that is clearly destructive to body, mind, and soul. If your perseverance is breathing poison into your spirit rather than nourishment, then patience has become a trap, and Allah's mercy is calling you to break free. Have you noticed how the words "Inshallah" slip from your lips when you speak of your plans, but your heart already fears disappointment? Do you find yourself explaining away mistreatment they meant no harm, only to return and receive more disrespect? Every time you muster courage to stand up for yourself, you are met with ridicule or worse, silence. These repeated cycles are not coincidences. They are divine signals that this path is not meant for you. Pause and reflect. Allah is the best of planners. When He opens a door, He grants comfort and growth. When He keeps a door closed, despite your knocking, He is protecting you from unseen harm. He sees the long-term consequences of staying in a toxic place, a heartbreak that fractures your trust, wounds that fester into bitterness, a faith that grows hollow from constant hurt. Consider the story of those companions who were tested beyond endurance. They were not commended for staying indefinitely in places where every dawn brought new trials. Rather, they took counsel, sought Allah's guidance, and relocated to greener pastures when their circumstances threatened their iman. Their reward was not for suffering endlessly, but for recognizing when struggle crossed the line into self-harm, and for having the courage to move forward in faith. So how do you know when harm outweighs hope? Listen to your core. When your du'as become cries of despair instead of calls of trust. When your heart races at the thought of tomorrow instead of resting in Allah's promise. When you lie awake replaying wounds, unable to find solace in your prayers. That is your soul speaking the truth. It is not weakness to admit you cannot endure more. It is strength to honor the sanctity of your spirit. Walking away does not erase the love you invested or the lessons you learned. On the contrary, it preserves your dignity and protects your capacity to love again. wholeheartedly and without fear. When you leave a place that continually harms you, you create space in your life for mercy, healing, and genuine growth. You affirm that your worth is measured not by the cruelty you endure, but by the faith and dignity you maintain. My dear brothers and sisters, if you find that every sincere effort is met only with pain and harm, listen to that warning. Have faith that Allah will guide you to where your efforts are rewarded with peace and kindness. Release what poisons your soul. Trust that by walking away, you are submitting to His wisdom, preserving your iman, and opening your life to blessings far greater than any hardship you leave behind. Remember, the journey of a believer is not measured by how long one stays in a broken place, but by how deeply one trusts Allah to bring them to a place of peace. So take a leap of faith, step away from the harm, and walk into Allah's promise of mercy, ease, and true reward. You have witnessed 5 unmistakable signs, signs that call you to release what no longer serves your soul, to remove what blocks your path to peace, and to trust in the one who knows you best. Remember how the tranquility of your heart slipped away, replaced by an unshakable heaviness. That burden was not merely stress or circumstance, it was a loving alarm from your Lord, urging you to step back and reassess. When the sakana He placed in your heart vanishes, do not ignore that vacuum. It is a divine nudge towards something purer and more sustaining. Then you reflected on those heartfelt du'as that seemed unanswered, those doors persistently closed. Understand that Allah's decree is more precise than any of our plans. Every closed door bears a secret blessing. Every no conceals a yes that awaits you beyond your current vision. When your prayers appear blocked, believe that Allah is shifting you onto a road that will lead to far greater mercy and growth. Next, you confronted the painful truth of compromising your deen. You recognized the cost of forcing yourself to fit into environments or relationships that demanded you betray your core values. Know this, your faith is not negotiable. Your commitment to Allah is your highest honor. If any attachment costs you even one prayer, one act of modesty, one moment of sincere remembrance, it is too dear a price. Have the bravery to walk away so that your iman may flourish without hindrance. We then examine the environment that drains your spirit, the toxic words, the dishonest dealings, the ceaseless negativity that dims the light of belief within you. Recognize that your surroundings shape your soul. You are not obliged to stay where your heart grows brittle. Trust that Allah will replace poisonous company with compassionate allies, that He will open spaces, both physical and spiritual, where your soul can breathe freely, where reminders of mercy and gratitude abound. Finally, you saw how relentless harm, betrayal undermined every sincere effort you made. Patience is beloved in Islam, but not to the extent of martyring your spirit. When perseverance becomes self-inflicted suffering, your Lord's mercy beckons you to step aside. By choosing to leave what wounds rather than heals you, you honor the dignity Allah bestowed upon you and pave the way for genuine kindness, respect, and upliftment. These 5 signs are not mere theories. They are lived realities for countless believers who found liberation the moment they heeded Allah's gentle guidance. Walking away does not signify defeat. It signifies profound submission and trust, qualities that elevate the believer's status in the sight of their Lord. When you relinquish control over what you cannot change and surrender to Allah's wisdom, you affirm that your reliance is not on people, places, or outcomes, but on the one who orchestrates every detail of existence. So how do you act upon these signs? Begin with sincere prayer. Ask Allah to grant you clarity, courage, and contentment. Surround yourself with reminders of trust, Quranic verses that speak of Allah's perfect plan, the prophetic narrations that celebrate righteous change, and the stories of our companions who walked away from harm to embrace mercy beyond measure. Seek counsel from those who love Allah above all else, who will encourage you to align your steps with divine guidance rather than worldly comfort. Then take the practical step of distance, whether it is a physical move setting new boundaries or redefining your circle of influence. Change often stirs fear, uncertainty, and grief. Embrace these emotions as part of the purification process. Remind yourself that grief for what you lose is natural. Grief for what you had grievously held on to is a sign of growth. With every farewell, you make room for new beginnings crafted by Allah's hand. Trust that on the other side of each departure lies a reunion with peace, with purpose, and with profound joy. Your Lord does not abandon the one who turns back to Him. Rather, He invites them into His mercy. As Allah says, "And whoever fears Allah, He will make for him a way out and will provide for him from where he does not expect." Surah At-Talaq 65, 2-3. Cling to this promise. Let it be the banner held high in your heart as you move forward. And remember, you are not alone. Every believer, past, present, and future, has stood at the crossroads of decision, feeling the pull to stay and the push to go. What distinguishes the faithful is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act in spite of it, guided by trust in Allah's perfect decree. May Allah grant us the insight to recognize His whispers, the strength to obey His commandments, and the serenity to walk confidently into whatever He has prepared for us next. May He surround us with support, replace our losses with unimaginable blessings, and grant us an eternal home in His paradise, where neither fear nor regret can reach us. When the moment comes to move beyond what has harmed your heart, mere understanding is not enough. You must transform intention into meaningful action. Know that walking away while guided by divine signs still requires planning, courage, and heartfelt reliance on Allah. First, take a deep breath and turn inward. Feel the weight you carry, the exhaustion from strained relationships, the frustration of closed doors, the heaviness of compromised faith. Acknowledge that this burden has stayed too long, and that releasing it is both your right and your duty before your Lord. Now, in the stillness of your private space, perhaps before the dawn prayer or in the quiet of night, raise your hands and whisper your sincere niyyah. Declare to Allah, "O most merciful, I intend to free myself from whatever harms my deen, my heart, and my future. I do this purely for your sake, seeking your pleasure above all else." Write these words in a journal or on a small card. Let the ink soak into paper as a concrete testament to your decision. Place it where you will see it every morning, a reminder that your resolve was sealed in sincerity and conscious choice. Next, visualize the path ahead. If it involves leaving a home or a job, imagine the conversation you will have. Kind, yet firm, honest, yet respectful. Craft your words carefully. Express gratitude for any good you received. Then calmly affirm that for the sake of your relationship with Allah, you must move on. If it concerns a friendship or a romantic bond, prepare to speak your truth with compassion. Acknowledge the shared memories, the laughter, the moments you once treasured. Then gently explain that remaining would cost you the very prayers and purity that give your life purpose. Practicing these words aloud, perhaps in front of a mirror or to a trusted confidant, will steel your heart when the real moment arrives. As you prepare this conversation, also make practical arrangements. If finances will be impacted, list your essential expenses and resources, then seek help or advice from people you trust. If you need new housing or employment, update your resume, connect with mentors, or explore community support. Recognize that walking away without a plan can leave you vulnerable, so arm yourself with knowledge of your options and reach out for help where necessary. None of this undermines reliance on Allah. Rather, it honors the principle that while we trust in divine provision, we also exercise the faculties He blessed us with: reason, planning, and initiative. Once the logistical groundwork is laid, focus on filling the space you will create. Every hour once spent in that toxic place or draining relationship can now become an opportunity for spiritual renewal and personal growth. Replace evening gossip sessions with time spent reciting Quran, even if only a few verses each night. Let the words of Allah flow over your tongue, cleansing your heart of noise and filling it with serenity. When work or social media once consumed your lunch breaks, use those minutes instead to engage in dhikr, simple phrases of remembrance that anchor your heart to gratitude and trust. Invite new companions into your life, people whose words uplift, whose deeds inspire, whose presence reminds you of Allah's mercy. Seek out local halakas, sisters' circles, or youth groups where sincerity takes precedence over social status. In these gatherings, share your experience if you feel safe doing so. You may discover that your story encourages someone else to heed the same warnings they have been ignoring. Community not only softens the loneliness of change, but also serves as a living reminder that your struggle is neither shameful nor solitary. Amidst these external shifts, cultivate an internal practice of self-monitoring. At the close of each day, pause for a moment of reflection, perhaps in the time before Fajr or after Isha. Ask yourself, did I feel closer to Allah today? Or did I drift toward old habits? Where did I sense His guidance most clearly? Where did I stumble? And what can I learn from that stumble? Journal these observations without judgment. Celebrate even minor triumphs, resisting a tempting conversation, completing a delayed prayer, responding with patience instead of anger. Each note in your journal is a milestone in your journey toward healing and faithfulness. Remain open to knowledge that equips you for new chapters. Whether in Quranic studies, theology classes, or vocational courses, empower yourself intellectually as well as spiritually. Learning becomes both a distraction from past pain and a vehicle for future success. As you master new skills, confidence blossoms alongside your faith. You begin to view the horizon not as a place of uncertainty, but as fertile ground where Allah's blessings will take root. In every step of this transition, anchor yourself with one comprehensive dua. Raise your hands and supplicate, O Allah, you are the best of planners, the most merciful. I entrust my affairs to you alone. Guide me to environments that nourish my iman, to companions who remind me of you, and to opportunities that serve your cause. Replace my losses with gains I cannot imagine. Protect me from regret. Grant me steadfastness, and let ease follow every hardship. Truly, with hardship comes ease. Ameen. Repeat this dua at Fajr, at Maghrib, and whenever your heart feels wavering, let it be the steady drumbeat that drives your resolve. Understand that progress may not be linear. You will have days of clarity and days of doubt. On the days you feel weak, revisit your written niyyah, reread your journal entries of victory, and reconnect with a friend who will remind you of the wisdom you once embraced. If necessary, seek further counsel from an imam, a mentor, or a counselor, so that obstacles do not become excuses to return to what you left. When you find peace blooming in your soul once more, consider offering your story as a beacon for others, whether through a heartfelt post on social media, a testimonial at your local masjid, or a private conversation with someone you know is struggling. Let your experience amplify the message. Walking away when Allah calls is not defeat but courageous submission. By sharing how you emerged from pain into tranquility, you become a living example of divine protection and mercy. May Allah grant you the strength to enact these steps, the clarity to recognize His continued guidance, and the joy of witnessing your life transform under His compassionate care. Walking away is difficult, but walking toward Allah's promise is the greatest journey any believer can undertake. Trust in Him, take that next step, and watch as He fills your path with light, purpose, and unimagined mercy. Embracing new beginnings, building a future anchored in Iman. Now that you have acknowledged the signs, taken deliberate steps to walk away, and forged a plan for positive change, it is time to embrace the beauty of new beginnings. Change can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, exciting yet daunting, but remember that every sunrise is proof that darkness gives way to light. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, does not close one chapter without preparing you for something far greater. First, renew your vision of what success and happiness truly mean. In a world that often equates achievement with wealth, status, or fleeting pleasure, The believer measures success by the proximity of their heart to Allah and the consistency of their righteous deeds. Sit quietly and write down, what qualities do I want to embody as a believer? How do I wish to be remembered by others when I return to Allah? Which acts of worship or service fill me with genuine joy and a sense of purpose? By clarifying these values, you create an internal compass that will guide every choice, career, friendships, daily habits, so that your path ahead reflects your highest aspirations rather than society's shifting definitions. Next, set intentional, faith-centered goals for your immediate future. Rather than vague promises, I will be better, craft smart objectives with spiritual focus. For example, complete one full reading of the Quran in the next 3 months, reflecting on at least one verse each day. Commit to learning a new dua or hadith each week and incorporate its teaching into my behavior. Volunteer twice a month at the local masjid or community outreach, using my skills to uplift others. Write these goals in a dedicated notebook alongside a realistic timeline and small checkpoints. This structure turns divine inspiration into concrete progress, reminding you that faith without action remains dormant. As you step into this new phase, cultivate a spirit of gratitude and curiosity. Begin each morning with a simple shukr journal entry. List 3 blessings, big or small, that you noticed in the past 24 hours. Gratitude reorients the heart toward abundance, even when external circumstances feel uncertain. Pair this with a weekly question of reflection. Ponder topics such as, how did Allah's mercy reveal itself to me this week? Or, in what moments did I feel closest to His presence? Recording these reflections deepens your awareness of His guidance and cements lessons learned. In building new relationships, prioritize quality over quantity. Seek companionship that nourishes your soul. People who remind you of Allah's names, encourage your growth, and hold you accountable when you falter. Reach out proactively. Invite a sincere sister or brother to a Quran circle. Form a small group for nightly dhikr, or propose a weekend hike coupled with a short reflection discussion. These intentional gatherings forge bonds rooted in shared purpose rather than passing entertainment. Invest in developing skills that strengthen both your deen and your worldly contributions. Consider online or local courses that enhance your ability to serve. Arabic language to deepen Quranic understanding, public speaking to lead community lectures, counseling fundamentals to support others facing crises. Treat each new skill as an act of worship, your effort to benefit the ummah and to honor the talents Allah has entrusted to you. As challenges inevitably arise, lingering doubts, nostalgia for the past, new obstacles, lean into prayer and remembrance. Make it a habit to pause 3 times a day for a silent dua. Ask for resilience, clarity, and unwavering reliance on Allah. Let the rhythm of these pauses become as natural as breathing, reminding you that no matter where you go or what you do, your first and final turn is always toward Him. Celebrate every milestone, no matter how small. Did you resist texting an old friend who pulled you back into negativity? Praise yourself for honoring your new boundaries. Did you complete a difficult chapter of Quran study? Share that joy with a mentor. These moments, acknowledged and cherished, build momentum and confidence. Over time, you will look back and marvel at how far you have come. Not because the journey was easy, but because every step you took was guided by divine light. Embracing new beginnings is not about erasing the past, but about carrying its lessons forward. Your experiences, the good and the painful alike, shape your compassion, humility, and wisdom. By stepping into the future with intentional vision, structured faith-based goals, supportive community, continuous learning, and heartfelt gratitude, you ensure that your next chapter is richer, purer, and more aligned with Allah's boundless mercy. May Allah make your new beginnings sources of immense blessing, strengthen your resolve at every turn, and grant you success that pleases Him in this life and the next. Ameen. My dear brothers and sisters, after all has been said, after every sign has been recognized, every burden acknowledged, and every necessary step taken, remember this one truth. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Letting go isn't giving up, it's growing up. Turning your back on what harms your soul is not loss, it's protection. Sometimes, the most powerful act of faith is not holding on, but knowing when to release and trusting that Allah will catch you when you do. You may have spent months, even years, begging Allah to fix what was never written for you. But today, you've learned that unanswered du'as, emotional exhaustion, and spiritual discomfort are not punishments. They're signs of divine redirection. They're Allah's way of telling you what lies ahead is better than what you're clinging to. So don't be afraid to leave what breaks you. Don't fear the silence that follows after goodbye. Because that silence, is where your healing begins. That space is where Allah will plant new seeds, and those tears will soon water a garden of peace you never thought possible. Allah never removes something from your life except to replace it with something better. Sometimes in this dunya, always in the akhirah. So walk away when He shows you the signs, not because you're tired, but because you finally trust Him more than your own plan. And if you feel alone, remember, you're not. You are walking in the footsteps of the prophets, the righteous and the strong, who all at some point had to leave something behind to move closer to Allah. So breathe deeply, raise your hands, and say from your heart, "Oh Allah, I don't know what's coming next, but I know you do, and that's enough for me." May Allah guide you, protect you, replace your pain with purpose, and grant you a life filled with peace, clarity, and closeness to Him. Ameen. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.